She's already.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole Board meeting for May 6th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. First off, I have not received any regrets from any trustees, and we do have Trustee McComb and Trustee Morgan online. So we start out with our acknowledgements. So we acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional land of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which is represented by the communities of Saugeen First Nation and Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation. We also think of the Métis Nation of Ontario, whose history and people are well represented in Bruce and Grey counties. Said that we have not received any regrets. So we move right to the agenda. That the agenda for the Committee of the Whole Board meeting of May 6, 2025 be approved as printed. And I have a mover for that. Thank you, Trustee Lutz. Is there any new business that you want to bring forward this evening? I see none. Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Next, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any of the agenda items this evening? Nobody is declaring that. We have no delegations, so we're right at the section of B, which is reports with recommendations. So first off, I'd like to invite the Superintendent of Education, LaFave, to speak to the report and recommendation. I'm going to put the recommendation on the floor. That the Blue Water District School Board considered for approval that Peninsula Shores District School students participate in the Europe Cultural and Reflective Field Trip, March 13th to the 21st, 2026. Contingent that it aligns with all travel advisories at the time of the trip. And I have a mover for that, please. Thank you, Trustee Thompson, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Through the chair, I'm going to now turn it over to student Senator Carson, who is going to be speaking in track.
We have been invited to join the BWDSB on a Europe trip, which has been approved by the board earlier this year. The details of this trip remain the same, so I will review them quickly, highlighting any changes from the previously approved trip. This trip is an 8-day tour that will take place during March break 2026. Our group will adventure into 3 countries with focus on history, visual arts, French as a second language, and geography. We will begin our tour in Brussels, Belgium, where we will learn about their rich culture and history before making our way to Vimy Ridge in Normandy in the north of France. Here we will explore Canadian contributions and the bravery to support Allied forces against Texas. Students will be able to walk where former soldiers have walked and reflect on the sacrifice and dedication needed for our current rights and freedoms. After our trip to the north, we will board a coach.
Just a second, can you just move the mic down so we can hear you? Sorry, I was thinking about people online, that's all. Perfect.
Turning up the volume, I was gonna ask that.
Oh, you want the volume? Is there any way for that volume up on that?
Just with that.
Just speak, say.
Oh, that way.
There.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
After our trip to the north, we will board a coach bus down to Versailles to explore the gardens. Afterwards, we will be continuing to Paris, France to explore various art and culture opportunities. For example, we will have a guided tour of the Louvre and open our eyes to wonderful art pieces that will certainly leave a lasting impression on our students. We will then head down to Nice and visit our third country, Monaco. Here we will see contrasting styles of living from the north and south of France and provide learning opportunities for our geography students who will see how humans interact differently with their environment. We will visit the city and explore various areas of this part of France. The only difference in travel will be that our school will take a school bus from PSDS to the Toronto airport and then go from the airport back to PSDS. Once the school arrives at the Toronto airport, we will meet with JDSS and the trip will become one. We are hoping to run multiple fundraising events to bring down the cost of the trip as much as possible for students, using vendors such as Krispy Kreme, JD Swede, Little Caesars Pizza, and Colonel's. In addition to fundraisers, the teachers in charge will be reaching out to our local Legion and Optimist clubs. With fundraising, the goal is to have the price per student under $4,000. We know the importance of raising money to make the trip more accessible for our students. Safety is another important point we cannot stress enough about. We've considered multiple scenarios and contingencies to provide students with a safe trip. Students will take part in learning and safety sessions to provide them with knowledge and guidance in case of an emergency. We will go through various scenarios, such as a student missing from the group, and ensure we will provide students and chaperones with proper training to deal with a similar situation. We do not expect this situation to occur, but will err on the side of caution. Additionally, students will receive a laminated card with a toll-free number that will alert our tour guides and chaperones with an emergency. We are a small school that is grateful for the opportunity to be invited on the JDSS trip. Our students are really looking forward to this once in a lifetime adventure.
Thank you. So trustees, do you have any questions concerning this trip? Go ahead, trustee Lutz.
Thank you. I just want to say that it's great that you're able to join another school. So that makes it very economical, and also seeing the pictures and media and responses from the groups that are currently on similar trips. It is clear this is an incredible educational experience. So I really hopefully get an opportunity. And will you get the opportunity to go or no?
No, I'm graduating this year, so I'll be gone. But
Anybody, go ahead, student trustee White.
Great presentation. Just wanted to say the trip, it sounds so excellent, and I really like all the places that you guys are getting the opportunity to see. At my school, we also did a similar Europe trip, though we didn't get to go to Monaco. So I like, that's a very fun destination. I'm very excited for you guys to go. Sounds awesome.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see any, but I won the trip. Anyway, thank you, and you did great in your presentation. I agree with the student trustee White. So, the motion, the recommendation is that the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Peninsula Shores District School students participate in the Europe Cultural and Reflective Field Trip, March 13th to the 21st, 2026. Contingent that aligns with all travel advisories at the time of the trip. It was moved by trustee Thompson. All in favor? And that is carried. And of course, I know you're going to do the next one, so I'm just going to put the recommendation on the floor. That the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Georgian Bay Community School students participate in the outdoor education Killarney field trip, October 6th to the 10th, 2025. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, trustee Craig, and welcome again.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to also just say thank you to Principal Fawcett, who's here supporting her student that is presented, so thank you. And I'm going to call upon our veteran reporter on trips, Senator Kearns, to come up and talk about this one. This is about her 6th trip she's done this year.
Good afternoon. I'd like to share an overview of the upcoming Killarney field trip as part of Georgian Bay Community Schools outdoor education program. From October 6th to 10th, 24 grade 10 students will embark on a 5-day canoeing and camping experience in Killarney Provincial Park. Led by experienced instructors under the guidance of Mr. Carr, who brings extensive qualifications in outdoor education and wilderness leadership, this trip is designed to build students' canoeing skills, portage techniques, and confidence in backcountry camping. It is a key component of the PAD2 curriculum. The cost of this trip is $154, which covers meals, transportation, fuel, and gear. Students will travel by bus and canoe through several scenic and challenging routes, including Bell Lake, Boundary Lake, and Silver Peak. A mandatory swim test will take place on September 13th at the YMCA, and a parent meeting will be held on September 14th to go over final details. This immersive learning experience is a valuable opportunity for students to develop resilience, teamwork, and appreciation for Ontario's natural environment. Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions or comments concerning this trip? Go ahead, student trustee Powell.
I want to say you're becoming quite the expert in presenting these field trips. And it sounds like an amazing trip. I've had some friends who have gone on similar ones at OSBSS in the past few years, and they always seem to enjoy it and really get a lot out of it. So it's awesome to hear that you guys are going. Trustee Lutz?
Thank you. I have a clarification question about the swim test, because it said that it was mandatory, but in the package, it says that students can challenge out if they have a bronze medallion. And I have concerns about the ability to challenge out, so I'd like that clarified.
Thank you for the question and observation. I did note that just earlier today that sentence should have been taken out. So it is mandatory, and if you read through that whole piece, it was conflicting. It conflicted with the other messages within there. So I think they just missed taking that one sentence out. It will be stricken, and it is a mandatory test for them today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any further questions, comments concerning the trip? See none, thank you very much, you did great. Okay, that Bluewater District School Board consider for approval the Georgian Bay Community School students participate in the outdoor education farming field trip October 6th to the 10th, 2025, was moved by trustee Craig, all in favor. And that is carried. Next. Is that I'd like to invite, of course, Superintendent Lefebvre, he's there. That the Bluewater District School Board consider for approval that the Bruce Peninsula District School students participate in the Fall Hike Outers Program October 15th to the 17th, 2025, and Algonquin Outers Canoe Trip May 14th to the 21st, 2026. Can I have a mover for that, please? I see Marilyn, trustee McComb, and take it away.
Thank you, Chair. So we're not getting Bronwyn to come back from Europe to present this trip, so you're stuck with me. I'm going to just read briefly the background to each of the two components of the trips and just let you know that they're putting this in hopes that they will have the staffing in place for them to be able to run the trips. Right now, we've got people on mat leaves and people perhaps on other leaves, so this may happen, it may not, but they want to be prepared and have this all ready. So the Bruce Peninsula District Outers Program has been providing hiking experiences to students on this section of the Bruce Trail for over 30 years. Their basic itinerary, day one, it's an 8-kilometer hike to High Down. The 15-kilometer hike on day 2 from High Down to Cypress Lake. And then camping at Cypress campsites in Bruce Peninsula National Park. And on day 3, a 15-kilometer hike to Little Cove Road. So there's a number of pieces there in terms of the safety plans that they've been doing this trip for a number of years. It's well planned. And of course, they're, again, as I said, they're only going to be running this and they have their qualified staff to be able to do so. If the staff are not available in the fall, then unfortunately it would have to be canceled. And we would let you know at that time through a trustee update. The second trip, the Algonquin Canoe Trip, is the Bruce Peninsula Outers Program. Again, it's been going to Algonquin Park for over 50 years on the same route for over 30 years. The basic itinerary has not changed, and the 4 activities are paddling, portaging, cooking, and camping. The 120-kilometer route is as follows. On night 1, Burnt Island, night 2, Big Trout, night 3, Burn Trout, night 4, Hogan, night 5, Big Crow, night 6, North Arm, Obiango, and night 7, South Arm, Obiango. And again, there are lots of details in there in terms of the trip safety plans. Their swimming test is actually done typically in the water there in the bay with clothes on, which I think is a great way to do so. And again, that is mandatory for all students. If you have any questions about the trip, I'm happy to answer them from what you've received in your package.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, trustee Thompson.
Just a compliment, as disappointing as it is for the students to not go on a trip, I commend the staff for making the difficult decision to cancel when wouldn't be safe for the students to be out on a trip. So, and I know that the students who it's been canceled for this year would be accommodated next year, if the trip were to run. So I do commend the staff for that. I know it's a tough one.
Further questions or comments? I don't see any, but I just want to say that, when you were presenting this and, what it's about, like the hike and Algonquin and others, is I just remember some from years ago when these recommendations would come, they were much longer, with more difficult words. So I was like, yay, I don't have to worry about that. Anyway, that's an aside. Thank you very much. Okay, as the Blue Water District School Board, consider approval of the Bruce Peninsula District School students participate in the Fall Hike Outers Program, October 15th to the 17th, 2025, and Algonquin Outers Trip, May 14th and 21st, 2026. It was moved by Trustee McComb. All in favor? And thank you. And just want to say welcome, Trustee Ritchie. Okay, next up is that the Blue Water District School Board changed the regular meeting of the board from the third Tuesday to the fourth Tuesday in March 2026. Can I have a mover to put that on the floor? Thank you, Trustee Thompson, and Director Wildler is going to present.
Thank you very much. I don't think there's really much explanation for this. It's March break. The way the calendar currently falls, that you would be meeting. I know how much you all love to be here, but the suggestion is, as the recommendation says, to move it from the third to the fourth so that you will not be here during March break.
By ourselves.
Yes.
Anyway, any questions or concerns with that? None. Thank you. Okay, you just had the motion, so all in favor? And that is carried. And that now we're in a section of the meeting where we do committee reports. So I'd like to invite Trustee Atkinson to speak to the report. It's the Special Education Advisory Committee that met on April 28th, 2025.
Thank you, Chair Johnstone. As you were told, we met on Monday, April 28th, and I just want to take a moment to thank Chair Thompson for joining us online last minute so that we were able to perform. So thank you, Jane. A presentation of diversity, equity, inclusion, and why it matters in special education was provided by the Human Rights and Equity Advisor, Avion Campbell. And this came with from the recommendation from Community Living to have Avion present. The committee received updates from teachers of the Education Community Partnership Program, ECPP, and for Blue Water Youth and Keystone Live-In Treatment, and the Psychology Department on their roles within the board and their services and supports they provide. And they either were in person or they joined virtually, so it was nice that everyone took time out of their busy day. I gave a trustee report to the committee, and the committee's members provided an overview on the ongoing work and coming events for their agencies. The committee reviewed the SEAC Identification, Placement, and Review Committee Parent Guardian Meeting Survey and the survey letter. And the survey letter has a QR code that you can do your magic, and it pops up eight questions, very brief questions, and we're hoping that we have a good response from that we will review in the next school year. The committee reviewed SEAC communication from the Learning Disabilities Association of Ontario, and we asked that Lauren and Colleen reach out to them and present at one of our SEAC meetings next year. Committee members participated in the Director of Education Performance Appraisal Survey. Now it was we had two community partners in the meeting, so their opinions were very different from Michael and myself and Lauren and Colleen. So what we did is we sent them the survey, so it was a private moment for them, and then they in turn were going to forward it on, maybe to Chris. I'm not sure where they were going to forward, but we work with Lori, Director Wilder, far different than our community partner. It wasn't fair to put our biases in their their minds. So it was dealt with and it was fun. And that is my report. If there is anything, any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions, concerning their report? That's just for information. Oh, go ahead, trustee Morgan. Thank you. Can't hear you.
Hi,
Hi.
Madam Chair. I'd just like to ask trustee Atkinson where her kiddo report was. I missed those kiddo stories. That is all. Thank you.
Trustee Morgan, I actually have one. Today, as I was leaving, one of my special friends was heading to the outdoor education center. And he asked me what I could expect for him to see. And I had to tell him that I have never been. And his comment to me was, somebody as old as you has not been there. That's my kiddo report, and it's fresh, first time told. So I guess I need to go.
Any further questions? I don't see anything. Thank you, trustee Atkinson, for the report. Next, we're down to, regroup the other information. There's that report. Oh, right. Is there any new notices of motions? I don't see any. Okay, we're back to committees. Thank you, Jane. And experiential learning projects 2024, 2025, and welcome Superintendent LaFave to speak to the report.
Thank you very much. Chair and everyone in the audience, I'm going to call upon Anita Koslag, our experiential learning teacher, to come and present. I have a presentation that should be coming up, but it is a large document and it is freezing on me. So now it's okay. It's not your fault. It's absolutely amazing. Hold on, it's loading. So come on up, Anita.
Sing.
Do you sing?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on.
Well, while that's loading, I guess we'll just begin. This year, we were able to fund 46 out of 65 experiential learning project proposals. As soon as there's a chart that was going to show you that the majority of those projects were geared towards students in grades 7 and 8. They do span across all grades, so kindergarten to grade 12. And just a quick mention that experiential learning model focuses on 3 components. So students must participate in a hands-on learning activity. Then they spend some time reflecting on that experience and then applying their learning to a new situation. So I'm just going to review the key themes that were explored in this year's projects. And I'll just move to that right now. So I'll just read them for you. We had projects in the areas of the entire curriculum, Indigenous learning, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, mental health and well-being, outdoor education, skilled trades, pathway exploration, and culturally relevant responsive pedagogy. So out of those main areas, the bulk of the the majority were focused around the Ontario curriculum. And then with mental health and well-being, skill trades and STEM. Oh, I love the microphone. And is that better?
science and technology, engineering and mathematics. So those are kind of the themes that we saw majority of projects falling under. Oh, excellent. Just in time. Okay, I'll keep going. So I did want to mention, I had created, oh, beautiful. There's a graphic that's gonna come up here in just a few seconds. Here we go. I did want to just mention some of the benefits of experiential learning before we highlight some of the projects that we had happening in our board this year. And one thing I wanted to go through, just 3 of the themes that were really noticeable in our project feedback. So we got some feedback from teachers and parents, and just the fact that these projects deepen the understanding of core concepts and help students get a better grasp of the theoretical ideas. And see the relevance beyond the classroom. That was one of the main benefits that we noticed this year. Also, skill development was huge in our projects across the curriculum areas. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and problem solving were areas that were really noticeable in the projects. And increased engagement and motivation, that's huge. And we got a lot of feedback from teachers and parents around that, which I'll show you in the slides to come. And then lastly, equity, diversity, and inclusion projects this year really embedded that as one of the focuses to support students of all backgrounds and abilities by recognizing their difference, and valuing their diversity. So the first project we're going to talk about is an Ontario curriculum focused project through Aaron Terra Elementary School. And the inspiration behind this project was that a teacher, really one of the lead teachers for the grade 6 class, wanted to engage with students through hands-on opportunities with electricity curriculum. So students began by constructing their own kits. They got to cut up wood, safely of course, and use power tools to fasten screws to create platforms that would house electrical switches. And then once the platforms were complete, they were tasked with wiring a circuit to power a fan, and they also set up a functioning 3-way switch, something that I'm still struggling to figure out at this stage. Students later had the opportunity to showcase this project to other students at a local science fair that they had in their school. And the goal moving forward is that grade 6 students would buddy up with grade 3 students to meet the electricity components in the curriculum. This project also demonstrated the value of community partnerships. So the lead teacher collaborated with a contact at the Nuclear Innovation Institute and was able to draw on some resources on how to set up the kits and some lessons to accompany them to get them started. And then they hope to customize their own materials moving forward. So the next project is a project that I'm very passionate about, and it all began when we had 6 schools requesting Lego Spike kits to be purchased for their schools. And in response to the repeated teacher interest around professional development, we organized a PD session for those educators so that they could implement the kits effectively in their schools. Following the PD session, we hosted a pilot Lego Spike robotics competition at the board office on April 23rd. And at that event, we had our intermediate literacy and numeracy coach, Jeff Keel, help host the event. He has a lot of experience from his previous job position at another board, and so he was able to really bring a rich and valuable experience to our students. And it was really a true team effort. We had 50 students here between grades 4 to 8, and the energy was electric. I haven't been around that much energy in a while, but these students were so engaged. It was truly inspiring. The event began with students building robots, and then it was followed by a focused session on basic movement and programming skills. And this ensured that all students were ready to tackle the stations that they would participate in the afternoon. So there were 8 stations that they moved through to apply their coding skills and creative problem solving skills. So at the end of the day, they were very upset that the event was over and wanted to stay longer to master some of the tasks that they've been working on. So it's just a true testament to just the level of engagement that these students had. One of the most memorable moments for me that day came when I spoke to a young girl. She got off the bus and she was so excited to be participating in the day. She said, these were her words, "There were no walls in my brain today. It's going to be a good day." So I thought that was just the best way to capture this event, just in the level of enthusiasm these students had. Our goal moving forward is to build capacity around robotics in the district, with the hope to establish robotics clubs in each school. And we're really hoping to expand this event to more of a district-wide event in the future. We also had the opportunity to continue to build capacity, and we delivered a professional development session for elementary guidance teachers. And the goal is just to inspire them and give them the tools and knowledge to bring that back to their schools. And so there is a quick little video on my side. That was one of the creations that the teachers so. Yeah. The next project I'd like to highlight is an outdoor learning project, Nature Club at Alexander Community School. They have a nature club, but the teacher also integrates outdoor learning into about 75% of her classroom programming, so she's very passionate about outdoor learning. And through this initiative, the students had a chance to participate in various hands-on experiences, including field trips, hikes on the Bruce Trail. They've been brought in guest speakers to learn about different types of birds, and they had the chance to build some birdhouses. So this project really exemplifies how hands-on learning fosters motivation and enhances engagement and encourages continued exploration beyond the classroom. I wanted to highlight this project because I received an email from this teacher out of the blue, and she wanted to share some feedback that parents had shared with her. So I'm just going to quote what she had sent me. She said, "Just last week, 2 different parents shared how much our nature club means to their children. One parent even mentioned that getting her daughter to school is a daily struggle, except on nature club days when she's eager to come. These stories truly highlight the power of connecting children with nature." And then later on in her email, she said, "The impact is extended beyond the classroom, with one parent from last year sharing that her child now leads nature walks with her siblings, identifying species like painted turtles and asking to learn more about the animals' behaviors and habitats." The next project I'd like to speak about is the Lucknow Skill Trades Expo. So this project took place over the course of 4 sessions. So each week, students participated in a different workshop led by a community volunteer that had expertise in that skill. So the activities included building birdhouses, sewing personalized bags, wiring circuits, cooking meals. These sessions gave students practical skills and an introduction to different skill trades areas, but it also fostered developing closer connections with the community, and that mentorship piece is so important for them. At the end of each session, the students and volunteers sat down together and enjoyed the meal that they actually cooked together, and it really helped strengthen the community connections. During my visit, so I went to visit on one of the days, and the volunteers just kept reiterating how much these students really need these types of experiences, and just having those skills, learning some of those skills. And these students have never sewed anything in their lives, and they got to go home with a nice little bag that was personalized for them. So as a token, I'll just draw attention to those birdhouses at the bottom. That was those birdhouses were made as a thank you to all the volunteers. And there were really heartfelt letters written to them as well. So it was a pretty special community event and project that they delivered. The last project I'd like to comment on is a music-based project out of Dundalk Croton Community School. So this event or these experiences took place over 3 different days. So the first day consisted of a hands-on drumming workshop, where grade 2s were led by professional drummer Jeff Salem. So they got to engage in a variety of hand percussion instruments, djembe, bongo drums, and learned about various rhythms. And we do have a video here Right there, that's why. Yeah, so you get a taste of how much fun they're having. And then the second day, I got to see this workshop. Yeah. And it was delivered by a Portuguese man named Sergio Zioclet. And the students engaged in clapping, rhythmic activities and dance moves, and they learned some Portuguese vocabulary. And they were just loving every part of this. So there's 2 videos. One of the dances that they were learning. The next video. So you get a taste of what they were able to experience. The third day really brought the entire student body together. The students gathered for an African voyage through Cameroon, led by artist Nyako Bako. And students had the opportunity to explore the important role of music, storytelling, and dance in everyday life. They also learned how different instruments need to come together to make perfect harmony. And it was really, the whole point of that day was to really show students that it's important to respect different parts of the musical ensemble, but also to find their own place in the rhythm. And I really love this project because the school, it was initiated based on the fact that the school's really growing in its Caribbean, African, and Southeast Asian population, and the teachers really felt the need to have more cultural representation in their learning. And so the presentations really became an incredible opportunity for students to connect with different cultures and celebrate their own as well and see themselves as part of the learning that they were experiencing. So it's truly inspiring to see students from all different cultures kind of feeling represented and just accepted. Additionally, I made the observation and I was speaking to one of the teachers there, that school has some students who are immobile, medically fragile, and nonverbal, and they were really moved by those performances as well. So just having that inclusivity in the activity, and they said that it really served as music therapy to those students and really brought them into the community and gave them a nice connection to the art and to each other. So that's all I had. Yes.
I do want to thank Anita. She's very passionate about experiential learning. And right from day one in the year, when we put out those calls for experiential learning projects, and we get a number of people asking for projects to happen within their schools. Anita is certainly one that takes the lead, but I do want to thank Superintendent Lowers and Learning Service Administrators Sprague and Harbinson. Our 2 departments work really closely together, and this is a combination of funds from multilingual learners, Indigenous, equity, experiential learning, a number of different places that we pull the money to make sure that we have as many project operating as possible. They're all completely linked and tied to our multi-year strategic plan, and they are connected to the improvements that we want to see in numeracy and literacy. So all of those connections are embedded in there. And I just want to thank Anita for being a lead on that and for supporting the work that we're doing. It's meaningful, and you can tell the students are engaged, teachers are engaged. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I really like the slides that there's action that we actually get to see the students and staff and the people who come to do the presentation. It's great for us to see that, as opposed to just a still. Is there any questions or comments concerning the presentation? Go ahead, student trustee White.
I just wanted to start out, I really like how the students are getting to learn so many different areas. Like, for example, I don't know anything about wires, coding, electrical, nothing, absolutely nothing. So I'm really glad to see that the students are learning about these things that they otherwise might never. And another thing, watching the Dundalk and Croton community ones, it kind of brought me back. When I was a student there, they brought in a drummer as well, and we learned through that too, and they've always been doing that. It's really, really wonderful.
Robson?
You really answered my question. I was wondering about funding and whether this was a stream of funding that comes. So I thank you for being creative and finding the dollars that allow this to happen, because it really is special and creates opportunity for a student that is outside the norm of the classroom. Thank you.
Go ahead, trustee Craig.
Well, I think it's wonderful program. It's very impressive and I'm sure it totally engages those kids who participate. And my question is, do the students in a school or in all the schools get to participate in such wonderful learning experiences? In fact, what percentage of students of those particular schools who are part of the program?
Sorry, I think as you had stated at the very start, I think we had 65 applications and we were able to fund 46 of those. Yeah, with now again, some of those cases, people were asking for things that weren't directly tied to the strategic plan. And we did not see a benefit for numeracy and literacy and our core priorities. So in those cases, sometimes they were turned down. And sometimes we make recommendations. In the future, if you were to include this and this, then you might get approved.
No, that's not quite the question. Quite the answer to the question. It was more around in a given school, if you bring in such a project, is it 10, 20, 50 students who participate? And does it in any way reach all the students? Because to me, the key thing is that all students should be reached with this kind of marvelous opportunity.
We do have to submit a report to the ministry at the end of the year with all those metrics around how many students in each of us, like as a whole, get to be touched by some of these projects. And I will say that a lot of the projects like are resources that can be used year over year to others, like really do want to be providing sustainable resources for our schools so that year over year other teachers can access that. But yeah, I mean, these are teacher-led projects. So yeah.
So just to answer the question, we know they're not going to reach every single student in the school. Dundalk Croton, it may have impacted maybe 1 or 2 classrooms for that particular project. I'm not absolutely sure, but I mean, we have over 18,500 students to the board. So I think it's better that we do a really good job with so many, rather than try to spread ourselves too thin. And again, we have to report on on that information. We want to make sure that it's having an impact. But again, we do have students for 14 years, or more. So there are opportunities throughout the grades for them to experience these.
And trustee Lutz?
Thank you. Just to add on that, I've been in classrooms where they've used, the electrical kits that they've gotten funding for in previous years. So I've seen how they're used year over year. So that's the thing is once it started, so some of these things can last heck for generations. Every so often you'll hear parents say, hey, my kid's doing the same thing I'm doing with some of these things. So, it's a hard measure to. Yeah, measure, yeah.
Atkinson?
So I think you solved the mystery for me. About 3 weeks ago, I was walking down to 7 and 8 Hall. It was very, very quiet. More almost scary quiet. But as I come up to the top of the landing, there were all these kiddos with electricity box and they looked like they were making electricity. I didn't dare ask or interrupt because they were right involved in the program. So I am guessing that is something that maybe they were doing because it looked like the slide that you had shown with the little bit of electricity. And so thank you for that.
Any further questions or comments? Didn't see any, but I also really appreciate when you talked about the nature club in that idea of that her some students that attend school isn't like their thing. But nature is, the nature club is, and so it engages them to attend school and because they're gonna go to that club. So I appreciate hearing about that. Well, thank you. Thank you very much and thank you for all you do. Our next, report is student achievement plan. I'd like to invite Superintendent of Education Lowers to speak to the report. Welcome.
He is taller than I am. Good evening. I also have Superintendent Lebev with me today, and I also have Superintendent Henry Lipset with me, because student achievement belongs to all of us in all our departments. And so I just like to draw your attention to the student achievement plan. You have a copy of it in your package, I believe. For the February 2024-25 school year, the Ministry of Education continues to focus on supporting student achievement through the following priorities: achievement of learning outcomes and core academic skills, preparation of students for future success, and student engagement and well-being. In front of you and on the screen, you have the Student Achievement Plan for 2024-25. The data in the Student Achievement Plan is compiled by the ministry and sent to boards in late March. Much of the data within the plan has already been addressed in greater detail for previous board meetings this year, including the EQAO presentation on October the 1st and in the Math Action Achievement Plan on November the 5th. While there are 2 years of data in most sections, there are 2 new pieces of data on this year's Student Achievement Plan. If you look at the bottom on the first page, measure percentage of students who believe their learning has prepared them for their next step, as well as the bottom right on the page, percentage of grades 6 and 9 and 10 students who report being aware of mental health supports and services. This data is based on responses to questions from the grade 6, 9, and 10 EQAO student surveys from last year. Page 2 of the plan, so the back side of it, reflects the same data as the first page, but in a Word format instead of the visual graphs. At the bottom of page 2, you will notice what, in my opinion, is probably the very most important part of the plan, because that is our actions. And that includes a very macro level of the board-wide plan and actions under each of the priorities, outlining the work to be done to support student achievement. The Student Achievement Plan has been developed to provide families and parents with information about the actions being taken to support their child's achievement. The Student Achievement Plan is posted on the board website and is being shared by administrators with school councils and with the Parent Involvement Committee. Recognizing that student achievement is our priority and recognizing that we're not going to wait until the March of the school year to move forward with school improvement plans, principals have developed school improvement plans based on our board inquiry question. So last August, we developed this board inquiry question and introduced it to principals. How can we continuously identify, plan for, and effectively respond to support the learners for whom our current practices are not working? The beauty of this question is it has some flexibility. We can say practices are not working in mathematics. Practices are not working in mental health, for example, and it has lots of flexibility depending on the students that we're considering in the data that we're looking at. This year, we've revised the school improvement plans that our principals are completing. This process is an iterative process, so we come back to it time and again, with goals based on data, and the goals are revisited throughout the year and adjusted as necessary. For example, today we had our secondary school principals examining the very data that's in front of you on the Student Achievement Plan, and then considering how it applies to their school and what their next actions are. The school improvement plan does not have a beginning or an end, but for us, it will now roll over from year to year so that school teams are now ready to get started the first thing back when they return in the fall. We have also restructured our system administrator meetings this year to include an instructional leadership component led by the superintendents of the Superintendent Lefebvre and Superintendent Penner-Lipset and myself. Administrators then attend carousels for professional learning specific to math, literacy, mental health, equity, and special education. At the end of each meeting, principals are provided time for working on any next steps in their school improvement plan. As superintendents, we are making more frequent visits to our schools this year and are very intentionally focusing our conversations with principals on school improvement and student achievement and what the next steps are in their school improvement plan. Principals are engaging their staff with this inquiry question and through professional learning communities in their schools related to school goals. And those are some of the things that we are doing to move student achievement forward in Blue Book.
Thank you. That's a lot of information and it's great. Okay, do I have any questions, comments concerning the report before you? Go ahead, trustee Lutz, and then trustee Peters.
First of all, thank you, and I really appreciate all this information. I'm definitely still digesting some of it. Two things. First, I want to say a huge, congratulations to all the work being done on well-being. Because 61% of students knowing where they can go, I would say is really good. Well, we'd love to say 100, like I'd still say 61 is fantastic. I know we'll keep working for more. And this other question I had was about attendance. And days the buses don't run when the school is open, is that marked against the students' attendance if they don't attend through this system?
Through the chair, the short answer is yes, it does count, yes.
So that explains it.
That's a part of it for sure, yeah.
And trustee Peters.
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious in terms of unpacking a little bit more of that, like, does that data kind of flesh out any other reasons why the attendance issue, other than just the busing, like, is it just socially emotional issues, or is there anything else in that data that kind of adds to that?
Through the chair, yeah, obviously this data is just a number, right? So what we need to do is dig in and see if we can understand the students and stories behind the number. And we do that in different ways. We talk to our principals because our principals sometimes know the stories right at their school and the trends. And our attendance counselors inform this work. So students are absent from school for a variety of reasons. Again, inclement weather days are included in this data. So if we start there, that's a large piece. But then we look at things like student engagement and belonging, feeling connected at school. We do have students that are absent due to illness, mental health, physical illness, in both ways. And one trend our attendance counselors are telling us that they're seeing is things like outside commitments to extracurriculars outside of school that are happening on school days. So for example, Friday tournaments or competitions for all kinds of sports. You mentioned hockey, that would be one, but there's others. We have dance, gymnastics, apparently horseback riding is one, and also skiing. So there are extracurriculars that families have committed to that it's impacting students attending fully.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just also looking online. And now trustee Craig.
Good. Well, thank you very much for this report. To me, this is in some ways the most important report that we ever receive every year, because it speaks to our primary responsibility, which is educating our kids effectively. And I think we're working awfully hard at that. I've any number of questions that I've scribbled down and gave you my notes before, but let me start by making the point that this, of course, is primarily a comparison of the 22-23 school year with 23-24. And by and large, there has been improvement. And given it's just 1 year difference, it's encouraging that there's significant improvement in all areas except grade 6. Grade 6 writing and grade 6 math are either just holding still at 39% in the case of math, or well off what they should be in comparison with the rest of the province. So I'd like to know what your plans are to pull up the socks of those grade 6 students. That's one point. I can throw them at point. Let me go with that one, then I'll come back with more questions if you like.
Yeah.
Please, fine.
Through the chair, I think we need to remember, first of all, that this is one piece of data. When you're asking what we're doing, I think we've given some indication of the work that we're doing with our principals, our teachers. Our principals are doing work with our teachers, and our teachers are doing work with our students every single day. We have, through some of the presentations we've had earlier in the year, for example, the EQAO presentation and the Math Achievement Action Plan presentation, we've gone into more depth in the specifics of things that we are doing to support students through their teachers, through their principals, to gain in that achievement. I think we always need to be very careful when looking at EQAO data that it's one piece of data. I think when we look at the math data in grade 6, first of all, I should mention, our goal is not to meet the provincial standard. Our goal is to exceed, of course, the provincial standard. We do our best to work with our teams, with our coaches, and with our teachers, who then work with our students. And there's a lot of very hard work going on, and I certainly do not want to discount that work by looking at one piece of data. We do look at our grade 6 math, for example, and we are sitting at 39% for the second year in a row, but the province is also stagnant at 50% for the second year in a row. When we look at the grade 6 writing, we came down by 2%, but the province actually came down by 4%. And so we have not decreased in the same rate as the province. We have been putting a lot of work into our junior division. We have primary, junior mathematics coaches that support teachers in the classroom in that regard. And we also have primary, junior literacy coaches, who have been working very intensely on what the right to read and science of reading looks like in our junior grades. And they are seeing steady progress in the development of things like morphology and other pieces like that. And as well as this year, they've been very intently focused on writing, because we know that research shows us that writing is a very crucial component in learning how to read. And so it has actually been a very prescriptive focus of our coaches in the work that they've been doing, our junior coaches this year in literacy.
Sure, if you want to go to somebody else, it's fine, but I do have 2 or 3 more. On page 2, preparation for students for future success. I note that in practically all those categories, percentage of students who earned 60 or more credits, who graduated with an OS+E in 5 years, who enrolled in at least one grade 12 math or grade 11 or 12 science course. We're down below the provincial averages in all those cases, with the wonderful exception of the job skills programs. Specifically, primarily, I expect that's the specialist high skills major and the dual credits. We're 13% above the provincial average, which I think is a great tribute to the importance of and success of that set of programs. But when are we going to close the gap between the success of our students in graduating and the rest of the province?
So thank you. Through the chair. I think it's really important, just kind of a math statistics background. that we don't, again, when you're looking at points of data, that you're looking at trends. So I don't want to sit here and, say that the job skills, that is great that we're higher. But that, again, that's just one piece of data. That one actually has trended over time to be higher. We know that students in our area, in our region, really value the trades, the skills trades. They also, a lot of them head into trades and apprenticeships versus heading to college or university. So that is a statistic. I know it's another question that you'd ask later on. How do we fare? We have far fewer students that trend towards university or college in Blue Water versus the workplace and trades and apprenticeships. So that's what they want. That is where, and that's great. And as you had indicated in previous meetings, we should be celebrating that we have people wanting to go into those skilled trades. Very valuable and actually much more challenging than a lot of people actually realize. In terms of comparing the 16 by 16 is one that does concern me, and it's one that we want to keep a really close eye on. We know that's a really good predictor for student success in the future. That's something that we've known for a number of years. That's one that I say to the principals, I want you to almost have that on your dashboard and on your computer screen every day, knowing how well the students are doing. We're noticing some of those statistics, though, are also part of the 16 by 16 is some of the data hasn't been captured in time to be included in ONSIS reports and what gets published to the ministry. That being said, I would love to be able to share with you our new grad rate. It's actually looking very positive. But right now it is still being vetted and it needs to go through ONSIS before it becomes published. And I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised. So there are gains that are being made in the work that we're doing. And I've seen more growth in the last 18 months. I'm probably, other than another administrator in the room here, I'm probably the second most senior administrator in terms of years in the schools and in the principal's chair. And I've seen more growth in the last 18 months in terms of our inquiry question for a board and a school and how precise our work has been with respect to Lexia, Acadience, Knowledge Hook. It's very precise, and I can almost guarantee you that you are going to be seeing a lot of these results going up over the next year or two.
Thank you. Just to point out too, the grad rate, one at the top, it is actually even lagging back a year. So it's, if you look at the chart there, the last one is 22, 23. So it's back 2 years. So the one is 21, 22, 22, 23. So we're back quite a bit on that one.
And then we actually had that clarified for us today. The grad rate data is collected as of August 31st every year. And so they didn't have this year's data prepared in time for it to be included in this plan.
Yes, actually. Do you have yours
I
on?
was gonna ask another question.
I realize that, but I'm
Sorry.
This is my little power control right there. You don't want me to beat you, right, Michael?
I'm just a new trustee.
No, you're not. Michael, you have Rochelle on, who came after you, and now we have Trustee Peters. So you are seasoned trustee, and he's the newbie. So go ahead for your next question.
Okay. My next question is more speculative, if you like, and you may just want to comment on it. Subject is demographics, and is it possible that the demographics of Grey and Bruce counties will make it very, very difficult for us to get up to the provincial average in all these metrics? I'm thinking in particular of things such as the fact that we're so much more rural. I wonder if we have, on average, a lower education level among our parents, meaning, in other words, that might result in less of a serious focus on pushing their kids to do well in school, might or might not. It's well known to be a fact. And whether it is a benefit for other boards in more rural, in more urban areas, in cities, that they have a higher percentage of immigrant students, and immigrant students, on average, tend to do quite well. So what I'm trying to say is, have we looked at the demographics of our student body, with a view to whether we're at a disadvantage?
Next, this point, I'm gonna actually respond to some of this. So, there's a lot of things that you said here that are based on assumptions. I'm gonna say that as opposed to, is there any data that, you know, that actually supports your, you know, what you thought? And that I'm gonna see this, and you can then talk to it, is that our students can do as well as any student, across Ontario and Canada, and I'm gonna say internationally. And that, different boards have, you know, depending on, you know, what their situation is, whether it's rural or northern, or you could say downtown Toronto, they all come with, you know, remarkable students and also students and families with challenges. So they have different, you know, they might have some different challenges than we do. So, if you would now like to respond to that, but it was about some of the assumptions.
Through the chair, thank you for that. We agree that our students can do as well or better than anyone in the province. We have great teachers, we have great parents and partners. We have great educators, we have great kids. So we do believe that we can do it. What our data tells us, when we really dig in deeper, and you can't see this on a one-page handout, is that we know many of our students are achieving a level 2, which is 60 to 69%. So they're just below meeting that provincial standard. And we want, you know, we're spending a lot of time and effort focused on how do we help those students, because they're almost there, right? They need a little bit of intervention, a little bit of support, a little bit of extra time. How can we wrap around those students and get those supports in place to help them get to that level 3 and 4 achievement?
Are you gonna?
Just, sorry,
Yes.
just one more quick addition to that through the chair. We've known for years, there's a lot of research around socioeconomics and, you know, students, where students are coming from, the environment that they're coming from, and again, social demographics, and then performance within schools. The one thing that we know for sure though, is that everything can be overcome. Like when a student comes into school and they've been exposed to very little reading at home, or very little literature, or exposure to literature, or they haven't traveled, it certainly is, it is a bit of a disadvantage. However, we can make that up a lot with the rich lessons, differentiation, the experiential learning. All of those things can make up and can help us to, you know, overcome where a student may be starting. Whereas another student might be coming in and might be reading small books in JK because they've been exposed to a lot of literature at home. But again, those students can catch up, and they can definitely be just as successful or even more successful as others.
And Trustee Morgan.
Madam Chair, I really find that the comment made by Trustee Craig is really offensive. The rural address that I live at has 2 doctorates and 2 master's degree. And I really think that those assumptions are completely offside. Thank you.
Hey. It was about the assumptions, and I think that, our rural families come with a rich history of learning, and in some ways, I'm gonna say this, in our rural communities, they do some most wonderful things that I couldn't even possibly wrap my head around. So, go ahead. Go ahead, trustee Thompson.
My question is a little more broad. This is a fairly new tool that's being posted on our website. I'm assuming that most of this information was being collected in the past. Is this a useful tool? Has it focused the work of the board differently in the last couple of years?
Through the chair. Every piece of data is useful for us. We always, student achievement is at the heart of the work we do. We couldn't do the jobs we do. Our teachers couldn't do the jobs they do. And our students couldn't put the hard work forward that they put forward without all of us wanting them to achieve. This tool is a piece of data. It has several pieces of data. As I said today, Learning Service Administrator Harkinson led us through an activity with our secondary principals, using this data and then looking at it with our school data, our school improvement plan data. Our school improvement plans are very specific to each of our schools. And so we've been doing a lot of work with our administrators this year, looking at data and then looking at how we analyze that data to create goals and to create actions to achieve those goals. And so it's a useful document in terms of it informs our next steps. It's very, very broad and it doesn't apply, sorry. And it's lagging data as well, that's true. It doesn't apply to every single school specifically, but what we've been able to do with our teams is take it in more depth. What is specific to your school in mathematics? Is it, for example, if it's mathematics, is it fractions your school is struggling with? Is it number sense your school is struggling with? Does your school need to do some more work around number routines? And so it helps our schools to be very specific in the actions that they're taking. It helps us as superintendents when we have our conversations with our principals to provide some accountability of what work is happening. And it also, the work that our principals are doing with their teachers provides some accountability. We have some amazing things happening with professional learning communities that are driven by our teachers because they are asking themselves questions around what are my students struggling with? What misconceptions can I help to address differently to help my students be successful? And I think it's very, very important that when we consider, yes, we do live in a rural community, but we do a disservice to our students and the hard work of our staff, teachers and other staff. If we are going to use the fact of our geography as an excuse for not achieving the same as the province. I think there's a lot of hard work and I wouldn't want to negate that very, very hard work of our students and of our staff that's going.
Yeah.
Michael, yeah.
In effect, respond to some of the comments here. I just want to say that I did not mean for any of my remarks to be prejudicial. I just wanted to raise those demographic issues as something that could and should be looked at. In fact, you've already done so to some degree. I certainly do not hold any prejudices against rural people or, whomever. Shouldn't be just trying to shut down ideas because they make us uncomfortable.
Just a quick comment. So I look over and I see one of my principals here. If I go to K at Peninsula Shores and I say 48% of the students or 55% of the students, she will pull out a sheet and she will say, here are the students. And she will know everything about every single student. And we will talk about why someone might not have reached a level 3. She will then be sharing with me, did they get their MTH1W credits? If not, how did we recover it? What were the next steps? That is the depth at which our educators and our administrators know this data. So they have it on their dashboards, they know it, they live it. This is great as a big, broad overview, but again, it's what each school does with it, and they're doing amazing things. And in fairness to Trustee Craig, if you look at stats, and you will see that in pockets of our in pockets of our communities, there are some communities with much lower levels of post-secondary education than other communities. I think that's maybe what you were referring to, or lower levels of income as well. And there are big disparities between some of our communities. So I think I understood the component of the question I think you were trying to ask, and I don't feel it didn't hit the wrong way for me. So thank you very much for raising it.
Is there any further questions concerning the report? I don't see anything.
Just make one last comment here, okay?
Okay,
Because
put your mic on.
once it's on, and basically it's just one or two sentences to get us back to the basics here, with regard to this data, that there is a significant improvement between 22, 23 and 23, 24. We are moving in the right direction, and I'm very, very pleased to see that. And I think it also proves to me the importance of us forcing ourselves to look at some of this data when it's not always the happiest stuff to see. So I think you're doing a great job, and I think because we're a year behind in getting the data, we'll see more improvement this coming year. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Next, we have announcements. Are there any announcements? Hey, Trustee Thompson.
I just want to bring your attention to trustee, the essential governance model that is open, webinars and self-directed learning that is expected for all trustees to complete by the August 31st, 2025. You will receive this from OPSPA Communications. And I know some trustees weren't getting their OPSPA communications, so check your alternate or junk email if you're missing it. But it's all there. You can join into the webinars. They're set, but they will be recorded if the date doesn't work. But do put it on your radar. You can complete it as soon as you are able, and then it's registered that you've done that obligation. So, and we've included it in your package so everyone has that information.
And Trustee.
I have a few things coming up in my area schools. Tonight, at Hanover Heights, there was a talent show, so I couldn't attend, but my heart was with them. Wishing them well tomorrow night. They're very busy at Hanover Heights. Tomorrow night, they're having a math night from 5 till 7, and it's put on by the SCC, and I'm pretty sure they're using the PIC money for that event, so that's exciting. My friends at Hanover Heights actually nominated me for the Ice Bucket Challenge. Little did I know, I only had 24 hours to complete it. So I did not complete it, but I will complete it and start over and beware my fellow trustees for the challenge. They poured cold water over me, and this one is to support mental health. So I'll take one for the team. I guess I need to pay attention to social media a little bit closer. On May 16th, my friends at Spruce Ridge and Normanby are combining and working with, partnering with the White Hatters and West Grey Police Services. And they will be having a presentation on gaming concerns, addictions, and opportunities. Last week, they had a digital literacy and internet safety watch party, and I heard it was very well attended. I was in Toronto, so I didn't have to attend. And there will be food. Bonus. And last week we all know it was Smile Cookie Week. I'm very passionate about Smile Cookies. This year I took it one step further and I actually got to decorate the cookies. over 600 of them. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, today I had a conversation with the manager at Tim Hortons in Durham, and she told me that, in my little small community of 2,100 people, $12,000 was raised for school nutrition. So, that's my passion. So I have a whole new appreciation for cookie decorators. But one thing I should have maybe said at ICR report, forgive me, Director Wilder touched base on it, at the business meeting. We did get a response from the ministry regarding the letter that SEAC sent to the ministry regarding, special education and transportation. And I asked Crystal to send it to each and every one of you. If Wayne, I can send you the original letter SEAC sent, and then we will be sharing that letter at SEAC this month. Unfortunately, there wasn't a receipt for electronic transfer of funds in. So a generic letter, but at least it was responded, and hopefully they heard that Blue Water is wanting some money, and we can only get as we heard of business, but we can get, and we'll make the best of what we have. And all I have.
What did I just see? I apologize, I'm not as organized as Trustee Atkinson with the list. But like her area of schools, there are a lot of music nights, arts nights, math nights. I think there's a science night happening at one of my schools. Everyone's getting creative and it is very exciting, and there's a lot coming up, and I know everyone's very excited about them, and they all promise to be a good time. And I know in the past when I've attended them, they are always very full of very excited students and parents learning things and engaging in extracurricular experiential learning. So it's always a lot of fun. It's a great time of year if you can fit it all in. Thank you.
And Trustee Peters.
Now that we're sharing what's happening at our schools, of note, between Osprey and Croton, there's been an awful lot of fundraiser, of course, in addition to the Smile of Cookies that have been, I know, Pete for the past time. There was a lot there as well. Of note, Grey Highlands, they've got their big fundraising dinner tomorrow night for their trip to Italy. So looking forward to touching base with them tomorrow night. And in regards to EQAO, for what Trustee Craig was talking about, I know that Beavercrest is offering the 7-8 math and literacy programming as well. And also at Beavercrest, they are actually holding a EQAO parent and guardian information session and webinar as well. So that kind of helps Mr. Craig in that regards. And also prom and graduation clothing. I know for years when my kids were going to Grey Highlands, and with prom being a very expensive time for dresses, I know that's been happening, and that's been circulated around social media as well. So that's a pretty important part. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Listen, I'm going to ask Student Senator Gill, because she got in my vehicle because we drive together. She was very excited about a game that's being done for the seniors at KDSS. You to speak to it. I was really excited about it. Go ahead.
Seniors. So, alongside my school and many other schools, we are playing a game within the seniors called Senior Assassin, in which we have around a week to get our opponent out by spraying water with them. However, they're able to have immunity by wearing goggles and floaties.
Yeah. It sounds really fun because they can go anywhere. So it's trying to, they don't actually know who the person is trying to get, or vice versa. And, they can even, I've heard things like, someone made a deal with a brother, and let them in the house and they were sleeping. So anyway, I think it's a really fun game. Just go ahead.
Yeah, so we're, we're doing one at OCSS as well, and, actually, I was going out to Starbucks the other day, and I had my goggles on my head, and, a regular, I see her there all the time, she's asking me, she's like, this is such a weird question, but why are you wearing goggles on your head? And I was like, not really weird question, I don't want goggles on, but, and I had to explain to her about like the concept of the game, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's all done on like an app. So like you don't get to see other people's locations. You only see your target and then you record them getting sprayed with a water gun. Yeah, you target and you record them getting sprayed with a water gun and then it gets uploaded to the app so everybody can see. And yeah, I know at our school we're doing like a little $2 fee to enter it and then like at the end, whoever's like the last person standing gets the prize, so it's a lot of fun and a great way for our kind of graduating class to kind of have some fun and mess around with each other a little bit and prank each other, so it's been fun to watch.
And just to be clear, because there has been some stuff on the news, and I know in our area that kids were not using water guns, but you're using like spray things, is that correct?
So I know that when on the app, when you download it, you have to like agree to certain terms that if you are playing the game, that you cannot use like anything that resembles an actual weapon or anything like a 4B's gun or anything like that. As well as a lot of the types of games are actually regulated by the school, just to clarify. So it is being hosted outside the schools by the senior class, but it definitely, there's a lot of rules surrounding it. Like you can't go to school, you can't shoot someone when they're driving, which is something we learned last year, is not a good idea. You have to get permission to go into somebody's house, like those things, so we definitely tweaked it so that there's less dangerous and risky activity, but yeah, trying to keep it as safe as possible.
And I appreciate, that's why I brought up that whole that thing, because it does, you know, I mean, people can perceive that, you know, just that you're speaking outside, someone's getting permission, you know, you think of a gun. So but it is.
Water guns, just water guns.
Yeah. No, even that, I think that was problematic, because water guns look like guns, so you know,
Yeah, so they changed it so that it has to be like distinctively a water gun. It can't be anything that's like black or like looks like a real gun, like, because there was issues with that last year.
Yeah.
Not with this, specifically like clarified, just with other.
Next topic.
And I just know that's a little bit from, anyway, I appreciate that. So it's gonna be. So we're at the end of our meeting, and the Bluewater District School Board is adjourning at 8:27 PM at Bluebird. Thank you, Trustee Lutz and Trustee Morgan, and all your kids. Have a great evening. Thank you.